Hello, this is wmpyr. I was recently asked a question by a Japanese self-defense instructor, and he asked me, he said, historically, what are the two martial arts experts that you respect? And respect or inspired by or, like or, along those lines. And so the two that I gotta go with are based from two books that I really read back in college, and these books are the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, and then of course The Art of War by Sun Tzu. So I gotta go with those two guys. Sun Tzu, for me, that's a martial artist. I don't necessarily think that he was doing kung fu or something like that, but the mind 100%. And I think the mind is the most powerful weapon that we got. And, so he, in my eyes, is 100% a martial artist, even if he didn't do the physical stuff. So, yeah, the reason why I read those two books was back in the day when I was going to the university. Um, those two books were mandatory reading for business schools. I don't know if it still is today, but back in the day it was. And I wasn't a business major, but I didn't want to mentally lose to someone who did business. So I was like, I want my mind strong that, I could be able to handle someone who is a business shark or whatever. But at the same time, also, I mean, those two books for if you practice martial arts, it just felt mandatory, and definitely at the time I was heavily into martial arts. So I mean, still am, but yeah, I was super into it. So I was like, yeah, as a martial arts practitioner, 100% need to read these. And so I read them, and at first I didn't want to read them. I was like, man, it's gonna be such a boring read. It's gonna be like a textbook. It's gonna be like reading a history textbook, and I'm gonna be bored out of my mind. And I really didn't want to. Once I started reading, I was blown away because it's not what I expected. I'm not even sure what I really expected, but these books were like they were so easy to read and so easy to understand because what they talked about was like, all right, if the bad guy wants to attack you this way, then you need to watch out for this, that, and this, and you need to attack them this way. It was very, very straightforward. So I was like, oh, wow, I totally get that. For a business person, that's not really going to apply to you. You have to think more of it as a concept, more of it as an abstract terms, you know. And for someone who does martial arts, it's pretty much I can't really say it's as is because what they're talking about in those books a lot of times are life and death war. That's what they're talking about. But we're still talking about you know um, combat with another human being. So for a martial arts person, it's a lot more straightforward. Um, it's not just a concept. So I was like, wow, I could totally use this. And at the time I was having those challenge matches and stuff, and I was like, yeah, this is really gonna help me out. And what I did was I would also use it. It was the whole idea of the importance of strategy. And what they talked about, they focused on was strategy, strategy, strategy. And that was so great for me because before that I was reading Bruce Lee's, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, and that had philosophy, and of course there was strategy, but it had a lot of other stuff in there too. These two books just to me like 100% focus on strategy. So I was just like, wow, and it was just almost overwhelming, and I really treasured those books, and I applied them as much as I could to my actual combat and those challenge matches that I had. And I also had a buddy at a time who was ex-military, and he was also a Filipino martial arts practitioner, and he was. to put it simply, a badass. And this guy also like had these kinds of like thinking and strategy, and so conversing with him and whatnot, it really helped me to shift the gears and change towards that kind of strategic thinking, and those were really good exercises for me. And another way that I got to practice that was through the game of chess. And I also played Japanese chess. Is something that I did. I'm not good at either one of those. I just enjoy playing them, and it's really fun to put in the idea because those games focus on strategy, you know, and it's an excellent way for me to practice some of those philosophies and those strategic ideas and concepts right onto this game format, and how do I beat this opponent who you start off as equal, and the thing is, they might be more skilled than you, and a lot of times I faced people that were way more skilled than I was, and to me the goal was, how do you beat someone that's better than you are? To me, that's the true like ultimate expression of martial arts, is to beat a person that is better than you are. You're not supposed to win against this person, 9 times out of 10 you're supposed to lose, yet somehow you pull the victory. That is what I'm interested in. And so using the ideas from those books, I would try to practice that. And I remember one time at the local at the university that I was going to, I played the guy who was the chess champion there of the university. They had like a tournament in their chess club, and actually he was the president of the chess club, and he won the tournament and whatever. And so when facing this guy who is 10 times better than me, probably 100 times better than I was. Of course, he annihilated me. And then when we played again, when I had that rematch, I was able to make him say, let me take that move back. So when I did that, that was to me a victory. After that, he annihilated me again, of course, but, and I'm not in his league, nowhere near. But just the fact that I was able to make him take back a move, that's when I was like, all right, I was able to implement some of the strategies there. And another thing for me was I remember playing one of the Gracies from the legendary Gracie family, and that was a great experience for me to see how their mentality, the mindset was like when faced one-on-one against one of them. And let me tell you that the guy was extremely competitive, very focused, and yeah, I mean, I was like, wow. And it was draining. It was a very, very difficult match. I barely pulled the win. And right after I won, he was like, let's go again. Immediately, and I was like, whoa, this guy doesn't mess around. So that was a great experience for me to experience the mentality of a Gracie. And it was an honor to do that. So I'll never forget it, But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. So those are the two historical figures that I admire as far as martial arts experts go. And the ones that I personally read about and did some research on. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.